Hey everybody, it's Alexander Dahl with Manifest Brutality once again. So I have another interview ready to go here. So we'll go ahead and get into that. We've still got plenty more to go through. So they'll be coming out for the next several weeks. So other than that, we'll go ahead and get into it. All right, here you go. All right, so I'm currently on the phone with the members of REVILUTION. So I'm going to go ahead and give them the opportunity to introduce themselves.
Okay, well, I'm Dan, vocalist and guitarist, and one of the songwriters.
I'm Scott, guitarist, one of the songwriters and singers.
Daryl, drummer.
Marie, vocals and backing vocals.
And Brennan, the bassist.
Excellent. Well, thank you all for taking the time to do this interview. So I always usually like to start at the beginning. So why don't you each kind of take a turn, expressing how you got into music and what about music you felt was really important to you?
Well, for me, getting into music started when I was a little kid, learning how to run my dad's stereo system. He had a reel-to-reel player, and that's kind of what started me on it, figuring out how to work the system and then getting a chance to listen to the music that he had recorded. And then I took piano lessons from my grandma when I was a kid, and then guitar lessons as a teenager. Taught myself to play drums when I was in the military, and it's just kind of grown from there, getting into bands like Kiss and Black Sabbath and AC/DC, and that's turned into what we got today.
Nice.
Next.
This is Scott. I learned or got into music because my mom and dad were both music teachers. So I learned how to read music before I learned how to read English, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
And it just excelled. I played a little bit of everything, except I just didn't have the lip for brass or reeds.
Okay.
Next.
Oh,
Tribal.
well, I guess I've been listening to music forever. Started younger than most of my friends or whatever listening to it. And just loved it, stayed in it from school up until high school. And after that, I gave it a break, and then after high school, I started up again and been doing it ever since.
Awesome.
But it,
I started singing in grade school, and when I was in the sixth grade, we went on TV and sang. And then my mom's a musician. She's a trumpet player, so I just was kind of always been around it, hang around musicians. And fast forward to adulthood, I ended up getting divorced and meeting Dan and becoming the band manager.
Mm-hmm.
And in doing booking a gig for him, I ended up being a lead vocalist. And so once he heard how I sang, I just sort of entered the band doing backing vocals and lead vocals at different times. And then songwriting. It just sort of evolved from there over time, over a period of 4 decades or so.
Sure. Yep, go ahead.
One guy left.
Yeah, it's a big band, man. Sorry.
It's okay.
My dad, growing up, I was his roadie. He was in a couple of relatively big bands in the Houston area.
Mm-hmm.
So, been around music a long time. Started playing bass because my fingers are too stupid to play guitar.
Mm.
And had a couple bands, was in high school. After high school, didn't really have anybody to play with, so I started doing my own kind of production and stuff like that. And pretty much just took a little break from bass, but then Scott told me that REVILUTION needed a bassist, so I had to get the rust off a little bit, and now I'm here playing with them, which is and excellent experience, honestly.
Sure. So I kind of want to have a little bit of discussion, have you guys kind of openly discuss something for a second. And that would be, it seems like there's a good mix of some of you that have like a classical training in music where you went through like, school programs and learned your instruments that way. And then some of you have more of like the outside school street learning of the way that you got into music. How would you kind of like compare the differences of how you actually get together and approach writing with like those different sides of background?
Well, usually when I write, it's just picking up a guitar or a bass or maybe getting on a keyboard and just kind of playing around a little bit until I find something that sounds good. I don't read music, but I like to think I have a pretty decent ear, growing up listening to the bands that I listen to. And so I might, noodle off of a riff I remember and then kind of turn it into something different. And if it comes out sounding good, I can get a complete rhythm track down with it. Then I'll start writing lyrics for that. But honestly, just learning stuff by ear did a heck of a lot for me than any kind of formal training, other than just learning the very, very basics of stuff like bar chords and things.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, it was just, if I hear something I like, I would play it and master it. And then when it comes to writing, I look for inspiration. It's not something I can turn on and off. I have to definitely be inspired to write.
All right.
Well, I'm a writer and publisher, so sometimes I'll just hear something that sounds like it would be a good song, or I will sit down and write just what comes to me on a particular subject. That's how I wrote my first song. My part in the band is basically like sweetening. Like the guys will write a song and put it together, and then I'll listen to it and I'll say, hey, a solo would sound really cool right here where it goes.
Okay.
I put that in. So I did that in Heavy Metal Homicide on the new album. So I'm sort of like a filler or a frosting type person. I'm not as much of a songwriter straight up. Dan usually writes instruments. If I write something lyrical,
Mm-hmm.
then he'll put it to music, and we'll get input from Scott and the rest of the guys too, just to form it. And it takes time, like girl stuff, been singing it for years, but with each band member that comes in, we put in something a little more unique, and every time it changes a little bit and sort of gets richer, like a gourmet meal.
Nice.
Then for me, I just started the band, so I had to learn all the stuff they already had.
Mm-hmm.
So as for writing based on what this band has, I haven't really been able to contribute too much, except a little slight altering of what already existed. However, I'm one of those that didn't get the formal learning, but I did teach myself how to produce varying kinds of electronic music, things like that, and so if I am ever able to come up with something, I'll bring it to the guys, see what they think, and see if we'll be able to translate it to actual physical instruments. And whenever it comes to writing things for the bass, a lot of the times, personally, my writing leans more towards slightly more complicated bass lines because I wanted to play guitar, but like I said before, fingers just aren't quite smart enough for that.
Mm-hmm.
So, and beyond that, I also do a lot of lyric writing, but again, not anything for this band yet, though hopefully that'll change soon.
Okay. And so let's talk about REVILUTION. When was it formed? How many iterations of different band members have you guys gone through? And then how did you all come to find yourself in it? What was the process for you joining the band?
All right. Well, Revolution basically began in 2011. I had moved out here to California from Colorado, and I had been in a cover band in Colorado for about 10 years as a drummer, and I really wanted a chance to write and record my own stuff. When I first came out here, I tried to get into some other bands as a drummer, and I wasn't good enough. Competition's pretty stiff. So I said, screw it, I'll just do my own thing. And then I met Marie, and she hooked me up with a multi-track recorder, and I started writing and recording all of the instruments and the vocals and stuff. It wasn't great stuff, but it was okay, and I liked it. And some of those songs are still in the set list now. Fast forward to, I don't know what, 5 years ago maybe. We decided that we needed a full band if we were going to go out and perform live. So I started putting out ads on Craigslist. I wound up with, I hooked up with a drummer that was in another band around here that's done some pretty good stuff. And then we found us a bass player. And then Scott came in as the other lead guitarist. And so there was us and Marie in that iteration for, I don't know, probably a couple of months, and then we had to let the drummer go, and so we got another drummer in, and toured for, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 months in that group, and then the drummer and bass player left, so we got in another drummer and bass player, and then toured for about a year with those guys, and then had to let the drummer go, the bass player got mad and quit. So now we've got Daryl on the drums and Brennan on the bass, and this version of the group has been together for 3 months, I think, with you in.
Yeah, it was longer than
Been a lot more like 6 months. You've been in.
6,
Okay,
probably.
so Brennan's the newest guy, and so he's been in 6 months, and we're just starting to get out and play gigs again.
Mhm.
But so far, this band is working really, really well together. We all get along really good. I like that. Which has kind of sometimes been an issue before. So I think we've got a really good, unique group of people in this particular version. We're sounding good.
Okay, and let's just go around the group. Each of you kind of, give a quick synopsis of how you joined the band.
Go ahead, Flash.
How'd you join the band?
How did I join? Oh,
Yeah.
I answered an ad that I saw on Craigslist, and came and auditioned, and it was only 3 blocks from my house. I said, okay, that's cool. And been with them ever since.
Nice.
Yeah.
I answered an ad with a band mix, I think it was.
Yeah.
And that's about it.
Well, back in Colorado, the band that Dan spoke about was also a psych therapist. And as I mentioned before, on my divorce, after my divorce, I ended up meeting this guy that he played with. And he goes, I got a guy I want you to meet. He's in California. And I was like, oh, man, really? But he goes, but he used to live here. We met and we talked like half the night. And after a few weeks, we just, we were hitting it off, and he was like, if I had this certain kind of recorder, I could totally be a whole band. And I was like, wow, cool, because I listened to some of the stuff he had. He had a little page on REVILUTION. And so I just sort of became a band manager because I'm good at making connections with people in high places, I guess. So I did that, and so we kind of started the band in reverse, I guess, in a way, because you meet people as you go, but instead we met people and then went.
Mm-hmm.
And then I ended up singing in the band and also being in the music videos because there was nobody that fit what we were looking for. Does that answer the question?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
And then for me, Scott's my father-in-law, and about 6 months ago, he told me Dan and himself were getting tired of switching off on bass, so they actually wanted to find a dedicated bass player. So he asked if I wanted to do it, said yes, and that's pretty much it.
Well, it definitely sounds like everything came together relatively easy for you guys, despite some trouble starting up. So Let's have everybody kind of share an important story about, something that happened to you surrounding music, whether it be a really inspirational show you went to or like a memorable moment recording something.
Okay. Well, I think for me, the most memorable part was I was taking guitar classes in school, and and you play around with the classic rock and country and stuff like that when you're in basic guitar, because they're just basically trying to teach you your chords and how to strum. And I was getting a little bit burned out on playing Proud Mary and stuff like that. So I had this cassette tape of Black Sabbath's greatest hits, and I had been listening to it like the night before, and then this day I was just playing around on guitar and accidentally hit the opening riff for Paranoid. And I was like, hey, I think I could learn how to play that. So I put the tape in and learned how to play Paranoid. And then I went back through and learned how to play almost every song on the tape, all by ear. And that was like when it all clicked for me that, hey, I might actually be able to do this. So that's probably the key thing that really kicked me off. Pick one, Scott.
Well, I joined when I was 21, I joined the local musicians union in our area. And when I was not playing in bands, I was earning money playing in orchestras, musical productions for the local colleges and universities, like Flower Drum Song and The Sound of Music, HMS Pinafore, those kind of productions, which was quite a diversion from playing in a rock band, believe me. But it helped pay the rent, so.
Sure.
Darryl?
So here, since I hit my first concert, I wanted to play music, probably the same dream everybody else has. And that's it.
What was the concert?
My first one?
Yeah.
Very first one? What was my very first one?
Mickey Mouse Club.
Maybe. I don't actually remember my first one. We was playing. I had to think about that one. But I always wanted to. Always had the same dream most musicians have, to make it big, be on a stage. That's about it.
Okay.
For me, it probably would have been as a band manager when I ended up being the lead vocalist. When I did my opening song, I Remember You. It was kind of rough. It wasn't a great band that I was in, but we finally got everything set up, and I started singing, and just like a hush fell over the crowd, and everybody was looking at the stage, and I think that was kind of the moment when I sort of realized the energy that goes into putting on a show. That's probably the most memorable moment in my career with this band.
Nice.
Back in high school, I was in a couple bands, and in one of them, I was the bassist and also lead singer at the time. Didn't really go anywhere because it was the end of high school and I had to move out of state. But we had one of our shows, and my dad made it to that one, and he had at that point already been in the music business drumming for like 20 years. And they recorded that particular performance, and I went back and watched it later, and I could hear one of his friends talking to him, and they were just like, "Proud Papa, huh?" And he was like, "Definitely am." So that kind of got it in me to try and work on more music in some way, largely because I have a lot of respect for my dad, so I've still tried to do what I can to make him proud. It's kind of a weird, almost cliche way of putting it, but that's pretty much the moment I decided, yeah, I'm going to still try and do something related to music.
Well, that's cool.
So why don't you guys you put out some links and some websites where people can actually take a listen to your music and see the music videos that you've been working on.
Okay. Well, our main site is our website. That's www.revolution.com, spelled REVILUTION. You can also find us on Facebook, and you can go to Instagram and Twitter at Revolution Band. And also look for us on Reverb Nation and SoundCloud.
And Gigment.
Oh, and Gigment.
YouTube.
Excellent.
Our YouTube links are hooked up on our website too, so you can go there and check it all out.
Okay, so generally the website will get you wherever you need to go. Excellent. So I always like to give the people that I interview the opportunity to put out their last word. So a message that you kind of feel resonates with you, and if you each want to kind of take a turn, just putting out something you feel strongly about.
All right. Well, I think for me, and hopefully I speak for all of us, the most important thing would be to remember that you never lose if you never give up, and always be who you are. Don't try to be anything else.
And work hard, because it is hard work. This is the hardest job I've ever had in my life. And, people think, oh, all I should do is play guitar. Well, let's see them do it.
But it's
Professionally, it's a lot of hard work and dedication, and you really got to apply yourself if you're going to be good at it.
but it's worth every second of it.
Yes, it is.
Anybody else? Any inspiration?
Make it fun.
Make it fun.
Make it fun. If it's not fun, it's not worth doing. Not having fun anymore, you need to change routes and go somewhere else.
Well, for
Yeah.
speaking as a woman in heavy metal, when I was doing it, there were not a lot of female-fronted bands other than like the Runaways. So women have to deal with different things than men do. Men have to deal with it too, but basically, only listen to people who really matter, people that you admire, and you can always learn. So, just stick with it, and, sometimes it's hard. Just talk to your friends, talk to your bandmates, and things like that, but just stick with it and just keep pushing on.
At the end of the day, no matter what you do in your life, there's always going to be somebody that's got some kind of problem with it. And then whenever you're doing something creative, whether it be painting, sculpture, music, there's always going to be critics. And screw them. Because somebody's always going to have something negative to say about you, no matter who you are or what you do. So just best thing you can try to do, even though I personally know it's really hard, is just try to take that and either ignore it or use it as fuel to go beyond what all of the people giving you a hard time are saying. That way, no matter what happens, you could say you did your best, whether you end up succeeding or not.